And it almost felt like a celebration of my failure. And it's probably the first time I've ever talked about it in this way online. The disappointment that that support only came at the end. If you've been anywhere on the internet in the last few weeks, you have seen the conversations. There's Ami Coley that closed back in September, and her moving on to Skims and being a director of like beauty product or something at Skims. And then obviously there's Hanifa who is taking a pause from her business due to, I guess, lack of communication surrounding her pre-orders and the timing of the pre-orders and things getting stuck in customs and all that. And I've stayed out of the conversation mostly because I've dealt with some of those issues too. Obviously, not on as large of a scale because I don't have as large of a customer base as Hanifa does. So people aren't going on the internet talking about me for the most part. Um, but I've dealt with, orders not going out on time and not communicating the way that I should, whether it was me or somebody that was helping me. So, like, for all of that, I stayed out of the conversation. But there's really two sides of this. And like, what I've seen is that there's the side of the community that says that the Black community does not show up and support Black women-owned brands until there's a sale or, until it's ending, which I'll get to that. But then there's another side where it's like Black women founders don't get the VC funding that other businesses get. We don't have the capital and the backing that a lot of these other brands get. And so I agree. And I think that both things are true. But then there's also a third side of that I have lived. And that's what I want to talk about. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Michaela Pabone, and I'm a designer, an entrepreneur, mom, influencer, wife, living in Brooklyn. I talk about all of those things, including some style and fashion stuff here on my account. But today I just want to talk a little bit about this issue with Black women founders. I'm a Black woman founder, and I just have some thoughts on how all of this played out. So, I'm the founder of Dressed in Joy. It's a brand that I started back in 2019. It's all of these beautiful bold prints in sizes extra small to 4XL. And it's really made for women who want to feel something when they get dressed every day. And for a few years, it was more than I could ever have dreamed. I launched right before the world stopped in like November of 2019. And by 2020, everybody's at home all the time. They're on their phones. They're, looking for something joyful, something to bring them a little bit of joy or happiness. And I feel like Dressed in Joy was like right in the right place at the right time. And with everybody amplifying Black owned businesses after the murder of George Floyd, like there's so many things just kind of played right in my hands as a Black woman founder in the early stages of the business. Everything flourished so much. I had a wonderful community. I had lots of momentum, and I was doing something that I had always dreamed of doing. And so in 2022, I opened my own retail store in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, where I live. And it was like truly a dream. It was the perfect physical space where women could walk in, they could touch the fabric, they can try things on, and it was like a dream come true. But here's what people don't often talk about when it comes to owning a retail store as a solo founder who also is running an e-commerce store and who also is an influencer creating campaigns for brands, and a mom and a wife. It's overwhelming. Not only that, but the overhead was huge. So rent in the beginning was completely manageable because we were getting so many sales online that if we didn't have a great month in the store, online sales could cover it, no problem. But then online sales started to slow down and then nobody was coming to the store. Now I'm paying rent every single month in the space, whether I had people coming in and shopping or not, when initially we thought, okay, we can use this as an office space, we can use this as a content space, we can do so many different things here because it was so big, but it just didn't really work out that way, and we weren't using the space as much as we should have. We weren't renting it out, which we could have done. Like there was so many little things that we could have done along the way that we didn't think of until it was really time to give it up. On top of that, in the lower sales, we had some manufacturing issues, and we had an issue where a whole box of inventory was stolen because FedEx decided to deliver the box and leave it on the doorstep of the apartment building next door overnight. I had no idea. I wasn't notified that the box was delivered. So somebody stole an entire large box of clothing that was going to be, available for in stock. So I had to reorder those. Then we had another issue where my husband was doing all the fulfillment and emails and everything. And so he dropped off a lot of orders. Let me just say a lot of orders, probably about $6,000 worth of orders. He dropped off at the post office, and they went missing. Every single one of those orders went missing. We were getting emails after emails like, I haven't received my order. Where's my order? Where's my order? And we're checking, and none of those orders from that batch had moved anywhere throughout the system. And this went on for weeks. And we're going back and forth with customers like, give us some time, give some time. People think we're scamming them. That's it, and it's hard when like that's the first thing, because as a Black woman business, you make a mistake and it's all of a sudden you're scamming and you're trying to steal my money, and it's like, and it's a lot of times it's our own people that do this to us that like, you know, automatically assume the worst when, hi, hello, if you know me, like that's scammer is the last thing you should think about when it comes to me. So, um, that gets really hurtful. But anyway, so what happened was we ended up having to refund all of those orders because we couldn't replace any of it. It was all sale items. And because we had reduced the price on them so much, trying to replace them, we would spend more money trying to order new items because it would cost us more. It didn't make sense. So we basically had to refund all these orders. We didn't get any of the shipping money back, like none of it. And so total, we lost about maybe $7,500 that we just gone, lost, because we had to refund all those customers. We didn't get our shipping money back. USPS would not refund us anything. They did not give us any insurance money, like nothing, because they said, oh, well, it looks like you never dropped them off, when they were literally probably sitting in a back room somewhere, or somebody like just stole the stuff from us. Like, and this is the stuff that, we didn't really even talk about this because it was so devastating that we lost all of that money, and we're not rich people, you know what I mean? Like a lot of that came out of my own pocket. It was a really, really, a really hard time. But beyond that, there were also some like customer service issues. Like we weren't getting back to customers as quickly as we should. And we probably should have gotten out of that store sooner than we did. Just a lot of things that kind of compounded. And sales just really started to decline a lot. So 2023, 2024, the sales went down considerably from, sorry, move the camera. The sales went down considerably from like 2023 to 2024. And then 2025, like I can't even talk about how much the sales went down then, but we were literally struggling to keep the lights on. And I just had to make the decision to leave the store. But before even announcing the closing of the store, like I tried everything to build momentum. I had like, okay, let's do a 20% off sale. Let's do a 25% off sale. Let's do a 30% off sale. Went to Essence Fest. We, tried to get more customers that like, get more visibility, get more customers that way. Nothing really happened. Things just weren't moving the way that they used to, the way that I was accustomed to them moving. And so I had to announce that we were closing the store. And this is where I get emotional, because I had women driving from out of state coming to Brooklyn to shop. I had people that were out of state that couldn't come to Brooklyn, so they had people that were here shopping for them. There was a line out the door before we even opened. Like, people were ready to spend their money. And I'm grateful for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful for everybody that came and supported and shopped and like practically sold us out that weekend. But I want to be clear that we have customers that shop with us no matter the time of year, no matter the day, no matter the week. Customers that just love Just Enjoy, and they love how they feel in my clothes, and they buy whenever, sale or not, they're going to buy. And I greatly, greatly appreciate those people, because they keep me motivated, they keep me going, and they keep me inspired to continue designing and to continue selling. But standing in the store all weekend and seeing everybody so happy, so giddy that they're getting this big sale, these big discounts, it was a little hurtful, because people weren't coming in just spending like $50 on something. I mean, people were dropping $200 a pop, $350, some even $500. So it's not like people didn't have the money to spend on my brand or things were too expensive. It felt disheartening for me, because, like I said, people were like laughing and happy and giddy to be getting these discounts. And here I am, like holding back tears because I'll have to let go of my dream. And it almost felt like a celebration of my failure. And it's probably the first time I've ever talked about it in this way online. Because it's hard to hold both of those things at the same time. The genuine gratefulness that everything sold out the way that I needed it to, but also the disappointment that that support only came at the end. It's like, it almost feels like my disappointment cancels out the gratefulness, and that's not. I hold both of these things at the same time. And on top of that, the other layer is, in my content, everything I said, clear as day, that it's just the retail store that is closing. I have a full e-commerce online business that will continue to run regardless of whether or not I have a storefront. But it felt like people were there grieving something that they hadn't really paid attention to. Like, you can still get these clothes. And it kind of made me realize, probably not in that moment, but later on, that people were showing up for the story. Like, yes, of course they wanted the discount, but they were showing up for the story, showing up for the struggle. It's like the narrative of the struggle activated something in people that, made them want to act. And I'm not trying to point fingers, because I think this is deeply human. Like, I've done the same thing. I've purchased Ami Cole's lip oils before, but when I saw that she was closing, I was like, oh, let me go get some more. And I think that's just kind of like, a human reaction to let me get something if I can't get it anymore. But part of that was missed, because I still get comments to this day of, oh, what made you decide to come back? Or, oh, I'm so glad to see you back. And it's like, I never left. I've still been designing. I had a fashion show. I have new collections dropping, 2 to 3 times a year. Like, and I get it that a lot of times people don't see the content, but if you saw that I was closing my store but didn't even read far enough to see you can still shop online, like that's it. I can't explain how that feels to me. Like the struggle matters more than anything else. And again, I'm not, like I said, I'm not pointing fingers, and I'm not like trying to make anybody, you did this and you make me feel bad, and you know, like it's not even about that. I just think, you know, people see the struggle and don't need to read any further into it, because it's like, oh, okay, well, she's closing, so let me go get my little sale and my discount. And, you know, that being amplified, so people were sharing it and people were commenting and sharing to their stories and sharing to friends in the area. And it's just like it went out so far and wide that people that had never even heard of my brand, never heard of the store, never been by it. And that's partly my fault too, right? Like maybe I wasn't talking about it enough. And so that all these people that didn't know about the brand before, now they come and shop. But where are they now? Like you wanted to be a part of that struggle story, that I'm helping this struggling brand story, but shit, I'm still struggling. So you know, it just looks different now because I don't have to give anything up at the moment. So when I watch what's happening with Hanifa, what happened with Ami Coley, I can definitely identify and recognize that feeling. And I think the conversation we're all having right now is missing something. Obviously, you got the people saying that it's the community, and the community doesn't show up for people. And part of that, I don't like, I partly agree with that because I know that Black women spend money, like spend money. Where are they spending it? It's hard to say. And you got the other side of that where it's, you know, a capital issue, and Black women entrepreneurs are the least funded out of all groups. All of those things are true. But what I've noticed is that there's a pattern of being the loudest and showing up the most when a brand is suffering. I've experienced it. Ami Coley experienced it. Curl Mix, just some other brands that I can think of, that, you know, you show up loudest when we talk about the struggle. And it's like, we don't want to talk about struggling all the time. We have good product. And I know that I have a good product because I've sold over $1 million worth of product on my own. So I know I have good product. I know people buy it at full price, but it just feels, it's disheartening is a word that I keep coming back to, because it almost feels like people think it's not worth it if there's no struggle attached to it, if there's no story attached to it. So we just need that support all the time, and not just when there is a problem, not just when there's a looming, pending failure that, you know, people come out in droves for said brand. It's so much more helpful when you show that support all the time. And I'm not sharing this to like relitigate my situation or to cast any shadow on the women who came out to shop with me that weekend, because I appreciate all of it. I appreciate every single person that spent money, whether it was $25 or $600. Like, I appreciate all of it because I needed to get rid of those clothes. But I am sharing it because I think that it's an important conversation, especially when you're living in the middle of it and nobody else is touching it. And I didn't even want to touch it for a long time. I didn't want to acknowledge it, talk about it, because it was hurtful. But I think it is really important to at least share my side of it. The community support conversation, the systemic barriers conversation when it comes to financial support in funding, those are both true. But somewhere between the two of them is like a harder truth, and that is support is not just in the closing sale. It's not just in the rally for sales, because otherwise I'm going to shut down. It's not just there. We need to support on the ordinary Tuesday when you think about it and it's like, oh my gosh, that dress is so beautiful. Let me go buy it. And not necessarily, let me wait to see if there's going to be a sale, and then you forget and then you don't buy it, and then next thing you know, we're going out of business. Like, not that happens that quickly or that drastically, but you get the point. I just don't think, I think we need to think beyond the dramatic narrative in order to activate ourselves to purchase. And I'm not talking just to, the masses. I'm talking to myself as well, because that's when it counts the most. When you see the dress and you're like, oh my gosh, let me support this. I really love the dress. I really love the hoodie. I really love the whatever. I've never seen it anywhere else. Let me go buy that. That's when it counts. But anyway, Dressed in Joy is still here, still online. Currently only athleisure, like what I'm wearing right now: hoodies, joggers, track jackets, and yoga pants, and tote bags. Yeah, I'm still working. I'm still designing. And if this conversation moved you at all, you know where to find me. It's going to be linked somewhere. And let's just continue the discussion in the comments. I like to talk more about it. Maybe we'll have another conversation with my husband involved, because he was so entrenched in the business from 2022 to 2024. And he was there with me on the day of the sale, the closing sale, and literally saw me holding back tears as everybody was celebrating. So yeah, I don't know. Let's continue the conversation. All right. See y'all next time.